Roger.
Good morning.
Why don't you come and join me in the garden and we'll have a little walking tour.
That sounds great. Thank you.
I'm Bess Green and I'm a member of the Mountain Ivy Garden Club. And our club's main projects as a working garden club is to maintain these two gardens, the Rock House Garden and the Veterans Park Garden across the street. So we're going to walk around this morning and talk a little about this garden. Right now the tulips are in full bloom. They're going to last, depending on how hot the weather gets, for possibly 3 weeks. We pick a color blend, so we have some early blooms and then we'll have some later blooms coming along also to extend the season. As you can also see right now, our hydrangeas are putting on their new growth for spring. We'll be chipping off the dead in a few days so that we'll get a prettier bush as spring comes along. These are an old variety of hydrangea that only bloom on old wood, so we can't cut back too heavily. We've got some daffodils blooming in the garden also this morning. They make a nice contrast with the red and yellow tulips. Here's our bed of tulips. It's the main attraction in the Rock House at the moment. The tulips are in full bloom. We've interspersed it with some Dusty Miller that we left over from last season, and it produces a nice contrast of color with the red and orange and yellow tulips. You see the beautiful rock work in the park. Some of this is original and some of it was added over the years. The Rock House itself, of course, was built by the WPA and has this beautiful ribbon mortar on the outside. And so when they put in the rock work, they tried to follow along in that same type of style. It's not a perfect match, but it's certainly beautiful and the park is well used. If we look over this way, you're going to see, if you're visiting right now, that part of the park is blocked off, and that's because the concrete over the years has failed a little bit. The county, who actually owns the property, is getting ready to replace that later on this summer, but it's temporarily blocked off to keep people from having any possible accidents. This is our cottage garden here. We have some daffodils in bloom here also, and we're getting ready to trim all the dead back next week so that we'll have a perfect landscape blooming later on this summer for people to enjoy. Over here in this bed under the maple tree, you can see some of our hellebores that are in bloom, and also some little grape hyacinths and ascaris. This bed has a lot of chrysanthemums for the fall. We try to have plants here that will provide year-round garden interest, so that it's just not a spring or summer garden, but will extend the bloom season till later in the year. Over here you're going to see, just coming into leafing right now, are some beautiful Japanese maples that the garden club put in a number of years ago. You can see some variegated abelia up here on the bank to provide some contrast with the green foliage. They're looking a little bit ragged right now, but here by the rock setting area, you can see some autumn ferns. The fountain is closed off every winter, of course, because of the danger of the piping bursting from the freezing temperatures, but it'll be cut on in the next few weeks for people to enjoy the sound of water in the park. Over here is our shade area of the garden, and we planted this a few years ago. A lot of this area was sort of overtaken by English ivy, which, if you're a gardener, you know, can be a true pest unless you have a full-time gardener to contain it for you. So over here, we have put in some shade plants. Right now, you can see our beautiful bear's foot hellebores. Our cedar fern looks a little worse for wear over the winter, but it'll come back. We have azaleas in here, some more hellebores, and a large variety of ferns and hostas that will come along as the weather warms up. Ready to go inside and take a look at the Rock House now?
That sounds great.
Before we step inside, there's one more thing I want to show you about this park, Roger. Some of you may be familiar with what is called the Blue Star Marker Program. It was started by the Garden Club of the United States in 1944. It was started by a garden club in New Jersey, and they planted 8,000 dogwood trees to honor the men and women who've served in this country in the armed services. After the Mountain Ivy Garden Club was established in 1993, this is our 28th year, they decided that they also would like to honor our veterans with a Blue Star marker. So this marker was erected by the Mountain Ivy Garden Club to honor all the veterans who served for this country. And we're very proud of this marker. Why don't we walk inside and talk a little bit about this building?
That sounds like a great idea.
Now, Roger, I grew up here, and I remember this building from my childhood. When I was in school here, this was the 4-H office.
Oh.
And Mr. Matty and Miss Seward held sway here. So if you were a 4-H'er in Rayburn County during that era, you remember coming to this building. Later, it became City Hall. And my husband's aunt used to work here, so I had visits here too. But it's a beautiful old building. The records say it was established by the WPA and built by them as a community center. And now it has basically returned to that function. The county maintains the property and they let it out for events and public meetings. So let's walk inside and take a look at this building. One of our longtime members who recently passed away was Carol Reeves. And I love this door because Carol picked out the color for this door to coordinate with this beautiful gray stonework.
Yeah.
So come on inside and let's take a look. And we have some other members inside to talk with you.
All right.
So we're here with the Mountain Ivy Garden Club and 3 of its principal officers. And so I'll allow each of you to introduce yourself, if you would, and talk a little bit about your responsibilities with the Garden Club.
I'm Susan White, and I will be in the club for 6 years come this October. And I joined because I was interested in learning a new way of gardening. We moved from the suburbs of Atlanta, where I had sun, to the mountains where I had shade. So, interesting transition. But what Mountain Ivy Garden Club does, or in my opinion, is our commitment to the community. And how do we do that, Roger? We do it through our scholarship program. We raise money through our annual bake and plant sale, which, by the way, is October 2nd, a Saturday this year. We normally have it in the spring, but because of COVID, we pushed it a little further back.
Yeah.
High school students, Raven County High School, benefit from our scholarship fund. This year, we have 2 scholarships that we're awarding in the amount of $1,500.
Wow.
That's a considerable amount of money for a garden club that has 24 members right now.
Okay.
So the plant and bake sale is incredible. It's on the grounds of the Rock House.
Okay.
So everyone come out, mark your calendars now.
Yeah, October 2nd, we'll take note of that, and we'll make sure that's on the Park Ranch site as well, so people know about it.
And I'm going to introduce Bess Green, who is also president. We're co-presidents this year, so Bess, take it away.
Well, I've done the presidency before, so Susan wanted a little backup this year, so I agreed to be her co-president. My reasons for joining the garden club were a little bit different than Susan's. Having grown up here, I love the fact that the garden club maintained these gardens for the public's use. It's a big selling point to me, to the charm of this town. When we moved back here after I retired from work, I just wanted to be a part of that. It is a working garden club, and my goal was to work in this garden. And I've been chairing the Rock House Garden Committee for probably 8 to 10 years now. It is something I enjoy doing. We want to have the gardens look beautiful for people to see, and also to come and walk through and sit and take a little respite from their shopping downtown.
And guess who's next?
Our Vice President, Shirley Rickman, first Vice President.
And membership chair for my duties. We have 24 current members. We have a member celebrating 20 years with the club.
Wow.
That is Gwen Fink.
Congratulations, Glenn.
And we never stop emphasizing that we are a working club, maintaining the 2 gardens.
Right.
We have master gardeners, expert gardeners, learning gardeners, novice gardeners,
Yeah.
pretend gardeners.
So, but you don't have to be a gardening expert to join the garden club, but it's a great way, to your point, if you're new to the area and you're not familiar with the types of plants that grow in the region, or you've got challenges with shade and things of that nature. What a great way to meet people who are bona fide experts and
It's
have
a
lot of
learning experience. We have guest speakers that attend our meetings. We have member presentations, and everyone's sharing their area of expertise.
Yeah.
And so there's so much to learn and absorb.
If someone's interested in joining the club or finding out more, what's the best way to do that?
Well, we are social media. We have Facebook, we have Instagram.
And we'll actually link your social media pages to this feature, so if after you watch the video, and go back and look at the feature.
They can write to us, Mountain Ivy Garden Club, Post Office Box 3, Tiger, Georgia 30576.
How about that? Do you have to be a resident of Raven County in order to? Okay.
Because of the working aspect is one reason, to maintain the gardens and because each member is asked to participate. Committees, officers down the road,
Presentations,
hostessing at meetings. So we consider it a commitment. And a year-round commitment, not just something to come and go.
Right, and in case folks missed it, you maintain the gardens here at the Rock House, and also
Veterans Park.
Yeah.
And Beverly Wilson is the chairperson over there.
Yeah.
So we do the plantings, the maintenance. We have a watering schedule throughout the year. Different, when the hot summer comes, we don't stop. Yada yada.
Yeah, and for folks that might be new to Raven County, from the video that we did outside, probably figure out where the Rock House is. But most folks know. Maybe they don't know it's called the Rock House, but we'll get to that in a minute. But what about Veterans Park? Can you just explain where that is for folks that are new?
Directly across from Reeves and on the corner across from the Rock House, right beside White Birch Inn. And pretty much anytime we're working in the gardens, we always have visitors, picnicking, swinging, children. That's the joy.
Yeah,
That's
and
the fruit of your labors.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great little spot. And I think when we talked to Brenda Patterson over at White Birch Inn, we had talked about the fact that there are some people that think that that's part of the White Birch and that they can't go in. But my father served in the Korean War. It's one of the reasons I joined the Army. But I love the Korean memorial that's over there in the garden as well. I appreciate that you keep all those things so nice.
It's an honor and a pleasure. We enjoy the work and the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. How long has the Garden Club been in existence?
From 1993 it was first organized, and at first there were about a dozen or so members, and they met in their homes, but eventually they came to meet in the Rock House. One of the interesting things about the Rock House that Carol Reeves shared with me years ago was at one time there was talk of tearing this building down and turning it into parking for the city. And there was a big community response to that between the business owners and people at large in the community, and they worked to save this Rock House. A lot of the stonework that we talked about outside, that was donated by local masons. They've donated their work. The furniture, a lot of it's still in here, was donated by local business people. The old appliances in the kitchen were donated by local business people. So this truly is a community place and a community effort. And thank goodness they saved it, because we've had some beautiful old buildings here in Raven County and bridges that were built by the WPA. They're almost all gone. You cannot recreate this craftsmanship, this beautiful ribbon border. You can see it here on the fireplace behind us. People don't do this anymore. It is a beautiful, beautiful building. This is the original wormy chestnut paneling in this building. These, I think, are the original floors, which are about to be replaced because they cannot be sanded and refinished again. So it is a beautiful asset to have in this community, and we hope people enjoy it.
Ladies, thank you for taking a few minutes of your time to tell us about the Garden Club. And in my personal opinion, living in a place as beautiful as Clayton and Rabun County, I know we must have more garden enthusiasts out there who would like to learn and then participate, in a couple of really key areas for downtown Clayton in terms of keeping them beautiful, supporting a couple students with scholarships annually. So folks, if you love gardening, and if you don't, I'd have to wonder about that, because you probably should learn to love it, being in Rabun County. But great organization for you to seek out and join and help in the cause. So again, thank you for your time and all the work you do for the community, and volunteering your time in particular. On behalf of all Rabun County residents, we very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
And you get the bonus of being able to hang out in Brock House.
Absolutely.
Which is pretty cool.
Before we end, let us also tell you that the county actually owns these properties, and they do an excellent job of working with us in maintaining the property and in supporting our gardening efforts and doing a lot of the heavy maintenance that we cannot do. And we really appreciate the county and all their staff that works with us.
Hear, hear. We will see you next time, Rabun County.
Bye-bye.
Come get in the dirt with us.